Hi, welcome to Cloud Institution. Today we are going to discuss Azure Question and Answers Part 6. So let's move on to first question. Your company has a Azure Active Directory tenant that is configured for hybrid coextensions with the on-premises Active Directory domain. You plan to deploy several new virtual machines in Azure. The VM will have same operating system and custom software requirements. You configure a reference VM on the on-premises virtual environment. You then generalize the VM to create an image. You need to upload the image Azure to ensure that is available for selection when you create a new Azure VM. Which PowerShell CMD should you use? Option A, AZ, add AZVM. Option B, add AZ VHD. Option C, add AZ image. D, add AZ image data disk. Find the correct answer. So the answer is option D, AZ VHD, because this is an on-premises environment to an Azure storage account. So let's move on to the second question. The question is included a number of questions that depicts the identical setup. However, every question has a distinctive result. Establish that the solution satisfies the requirement. Your company Azure subscription includes two Azure network named Virtual Network A, Virtual Network B. Virtual Network A includes VPN gateway that is configured to make use of static routing. Also, site-to-site VPN connection existing between your company on-premises network and Virtual Network A. You have configured point-to-site VPN connection to Virtual Network A from the workstation running Windows 10. After configuring virtual network peering between Virtual Network A and Virtual Network B, you confirm that you are able to access Virtual Network B from the company's on-premises network. However, you find that you cannot establish a connection to Virtual Network B from the Windows 10 workstation. You have to make sure the connection of Virtual Network B cannot be established from the Windows 10 workstation. Solution. You choose the Allow Gateway Transit setting from Virtual Network A. Does the solution meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Find the correct answer. So the answer is no. This issue is that Windows 10 workstation which has point-to-site VPN connection to Virtual Network A cannot reach Virtual Network B even through Virtual Network A and Virtual Network B are paired. So let's move on to third question. The question is included in the number of questions that depicts the identical setup. However, every question has a distinctive result. Establish if the solution satisfies the requirement. Your company Azure subscription include two Azure network named Virtual Network A and Virtual Network B. Virtual Network A includes VPN gateway that is configured to make use of static routing. Also, site-to-site VPN connection existing between your company on-premises network and Virtual Network A. You have configured a point-to-site VPN connection to a virtual network A from the workstation running Windows 10. After configuring virtual network peering between virtual network A and virtual network B, you confirm that you are able to access virtual network B from the company's on-premises network. However, you find that cannot establish a net connection to virtual network B from the Windows 10 workstation. You have to make sure the connection of virtual network B can be established from the Windows 10 workstation. Solution. You choose Allow Gateway Transit setting from virtual network B. Does the solution meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Find the correct answer. So the answer is option A, yes. Because the VPN gateway is the virtual network A and the Windows 10 workstation as a point-to-site VPN connection to virtual network A. Virtual network A and virtual network B are paired, allowing communication between them. This ensures that workstation cannot reach virtual network B. So let's move on to fourth question. Your company has virtual machine hosted in Azure, Microsoft Azure. The VM are located in a single Azure virtual machine network named VNet. The company has a user that work remotely. The remote workers require access to VM on VNet 1. You need to provide access for the remote workers. What should you do? Option A, configure site-to-site VPN. Option B, configure V2 VNet VPN. Option C, configure a point-to-site VPN. Option D, configure direct access on a Windows Server 2012 server VM. Option E, configure a multi-site VM. Find the correct answer. So the correct answer is configure a point-to-site VPN because point-to-site VPN allows individual remote users to securely connect to a virtual network VNet from their personal device over the internet. Since the requirement is to provide access for remote workers who are not connected to an on-premises network, as P2S VPN is the best solution. So let's move on to fifth question. The question is included in a number of questions that depicts the identical setup. However, every question has a distinctive result. Establish if the solution satisfies the requirement. Your company has a Microsoft SQL server always on availability group configured on their Azure virtual machine. You need to configure Azure internal load balancer as a listener for the availability group. Solution. You create a HTTP health probe on port number 1433. Does the solution meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Find the correct answer. So the answer is option no, because Microsoft SQL Server always on availability group requires an Azure internal load balancer for routing traffic for the active SQL instance. For health prop, an HTTP health prop on port number 1433 is incorrect because port 1433 is used for SQL Server database connection, not for health props check. Instead, the correct health prop should be a TCP prop on the availability group listeners port that is usually 59999 or a custom port configured in the availability group settings. Thus, a HTTP health prop as a port number 1433 does not meet the goal.